There are terms in trauma therapy that I think apply very well to the trauma that women suffer under the patriarchy. So the title of this video is called Matriarchal Therapy. And I believe it is the missing component of therapy for women who do therapy to heal themselves from harm. And I think it needs to be put back in. And it's one of the things that I do with the people that I help is to reinstall the primal instincts that Mother Nature has given us for self-protection and safety. There is this phenomenon in therapy, and this is just so patriarchal in the way it's done, which makes sense because psychiatry and psychology was developed, modern psychiatry was developed mostly under Freud's principles, which was very patriarchal. And that is to hold the victim in continued victimhood. And let me be clear here that I'm not suggesting that there is no legitimacy to being a victim. There is complete legitimacy to every possible reaction a woman would have from being a victim of abuse, whether it is subtle, whether it is more social patriarchy, whether it is in deep personal relationships of abuse and corruption. Whatever form it may be, their reaction is completely legitimate and completely valid. And therapy, conventional therapy, does a good job of bringing up awareness of the detriments to our mental, physical, and spiritual health. Maybe not so much the spiritual, but mental and physical health that trauma and abuse do to us. But they tend to focus solely on fixing ourselves, fixing our responses. The trauma world is turning a corner and is working not so much on the continued management and coping and fixing of ourselves, depathologizing everything in regards to what therapy is, and rewiring ourselves from our nervous system right up to our psyche to restore our sense of internal safety and power. But they stop as well at the boundary of, well, okay, now what do we do with the perpetrator? Very, very few therapies will have the wisdom and the knowledge of abuse tactics in both a personal and a social and a government and a global level on the woman and even on the man or the child who has experienced trauma and abuse. I focus on the women and girls. Very, very few therapies really understand abuse tactics. And I see so many therapies, really good therapies that I use to heal myself and to work with people, with clients, still stop when it comes to, okay, well, how do we help this person escape abuse, escape harm? And how do we help society as a whole remove the acts of harm from the vulnerable? How do we remove the predator? And I've talked about this quite a bit in previous videos, so please do check them out, about the social need to remove the predator. And this is where the matriarchy comes, because you'll see matriarchal species in the wild, animal species just kill threats. You're harming my cubs, you're harming my family, you're harming my tribe, you're trying to take away my life. I'm just gonna freaking remove you, period. There's no therapy, there's no enabling, there's no critical thinking. It's just boom, bang, you're done. And then safety in the tribe is restored. And this is a part of matriarchal therapy that I think needs to be done with women in therapy. And it has to be done properly so that we don't become men with, a load full of armory and just go wound up through the schools and shoot everybody. I mean, that is a patriarchal wound. But we do build up our strength and our community and our resources to call the predators, to remove the predators. And we work through society and we restore our institutions to accept this instead of put us in prison. This is a long journey. This is a hard journey. But it starts with the individual woman regaining her own sense of power. And I want to discuss something that I wrote in an article on my site, healingfromharm.com. Part of this article, I describe the 4 typical trauma responses when you are in front of a threat. So there is a threat. It could be emotional, it could be physical, it could be oppression, social oppression, it could be whatever. The nervous system response is the same for all of them. There is the fight response, which is I am faced a threat. I'm going to remove the threat. I'm going to fight it and remove it, cut it out. There is the flight response, which is what one does when they can't fight it. If you can't remove it yourself, then you remove yourself from the threat. You walk away, you run away, you flee, you hide, you escape. The third response is the freeze response. And this is what you do when you can't fight and you can't run. You play dead so that the perpetrator loses interest in attacking you. And you'll see wild animals do this in the wild. They'll play dead, and then the predator animal will not hunt them anymore because they've already played dead. And then the predator animal runs away, and the prey animal gets up and leaves, shakes it off, and goes back to its daily life. Well, we do that too as humans. We will freeze when we can't fight and we can't flight. The next level of that is fawn. And this is where the patriarchy shines and loves to put women in. Fawn is when you can't even play dead because you know that the perpetrator is going to keep poking at you and kicking you while you're down. So you have to fawn. You have to appease and please your abuser, your threat, so that they get fed off your appeasement and they learn that they can control you, and then they can kind of leave you alone from doing deeper harm. But harm is still being done. And I'm sure you can think of countless ways that women are conditioned to fawn, please and appease our threats, our abusers, our society, our husbands, our government, our church leaders, our fathers, you name it, even our doctors, in order to lessen the threat as much as possible. And we cannot even play dead because we'll just get poked. And if you're a survivor of abuse, I'm sure you know this feeling very well. So we fawn. And that's where the whole identity and brainwashing of religions and cults come into mind of the good girl, the pure girl. Don't be crazy, don't be angry. Women are made for caring. Well, women are also made for fighting. So in matriarchal therapy, we reverse the process so that we can go back into flow. So we reinstall our power so that we can heal our fawn response, heal our freeze response, heal our flight response, and come into our fight response so that we can remove the threat and return to a state of flow, which is just our natural default state of contentment, peace, calm, harmony. And with matriarchal therapy, we teach the woman these distinctions and we give them back the power of choice. And because life is not all perfect, we are going to run into situations where we have to fawn to survive, or we have to freeze to survive, or we have to flee to survive. But then we can make the choice, which one is the best for us in this scenario? And then when we are in a place of better safety and security, what can we do to go back up that ladder to fight and restore some justice? And a lot of therapy will, and even a lot of philosophies, you go into Buddhism and Taoism and the modern version of nonviolence communication, where it's like, no, we don't want peace, don't want to fight. But here's what they don't understand. Tyranny doesn't back down unless they're forced down. And if you're a survivor of abuse, you will understand that appeasing your abuser just makes things peaceful temporarily. They always come back. So we have to learn how to fight in order to get true peace. That is not violence, that is justice. That is using our natural, primal, Mother Nature instincts of protection. And that is something that's missing in conventional therapy. And that's why I do it with my own therapy. This is something I've had to do myself because I haven't found it anywhere else except in my own, when I sit with my own deep suffering and I listen to my own soul, my own body telling me what I need to do. And I observe Mother Nature. And I think this is really, really important for a woman, is this concept of matriarchal therapy. And I'd love to see it put everywhere. And so I bring this to you today. Just some thoughts that are running through my head. I'm trying to think of what I can add more, but I think that's it. I think I've got the point across. So if you want to learn more, please go to my site at healingfromharm.com. You can visit my First Church of Matriarchy on Patreon. I'll put the links below. You can help support me and donate me through PayPal. I am going to be doing future videos on leaving an abusive situation because this is something that I am personally experiencing right now, and I'm on phase 2 of this journey, or maybe it's phase 3. So I will be discussing this, but because I don't have enough followers on YouTube yet, I can't make it private on YouTube. So I might be putting this on just my website or on my Patreon site, because then I can put it behind a public wall. And so if you want to listen to that, you'll have to subscribe and pay a membership, which is just $5 a month. And I'm doing that, one, for my own privacy as I go through this process, and two, to help gather support for legal fees and stuff like that. So I will leave that link as well. I will let you check that out and let me know if you're interested in learning about that. And I probably won't discuss this on a separate video because, again, I try to keep it private. So that is something that's coming up in the future. Back to matriarchal therapy. Please like, share, subscribe, comment below what you think. And I look forward to talking to you on the next video. Have a good night. Oh, and happy International Women's Day. I believe that was yesterday. And it is Women's History Month. So what better? And it's the beginning of spring. The spring equinox is coming. So what better way than to tradition and honor Mother Nature's cycles than to practice the art of matriarchy? Something to think about. Have a good day, everyone.